Chapter 14. The Identity of Folly. Section 1. Opening the Wisdom Frequency. Welcome back to the Wisdom Lab on NovaLogos Audio English. In our previous session, we identified the two primary roads of life, the path of the just and the way of the wicked. Today, we look at the internal engine that drives someone onto the wrong path. We are exploring Chapter 14, The Identity of Folly. In modern conversation, we often use the word fool as a synonym for someone with low intelligence or a lack of education. We pity the foolish because we think they simply don't know any better. However, in the wisdom tradition, folly is not an intellectual problem. It is a spiritual and moral choice. A fool is not someone who cannot learn, but someone who refuses to learn. It is the intentional rejection of reality in favor of one's own ego. Our foundational principle for this chapter comes from the Book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 7. Leave the presence of a fool, for there you do not find words of knowledge. Notice the command to leave. Wisdom suggests that a fool's mindset is contagious and unproductive. You cannot argue someone into wisdom if they have already decided that they are the center of the universe. Today, we will dissect the difference between honest ignorance and stubborn folly, and learn how to protect our own hearts from becoming closed circuits. Section 2. The Verses. Wisdom in Multi-Angles. To understand the identity of folly, we must distinguish between a phos, student who is learning, and a fool who is resisting. Let's look at the Book of Wisdom, chapter 1, verses 3 to 5. For perverse counsels separate from God, because wisdom will not enter a deceitful soul, nor dwell in a body enslaved to sin. For a holy and disciplined spirit will flee from deceit, and will leave foolish thoughts behind. Wisdom is portrayed here as a guest who requires a specific environment. She will not enter a soul that is committed to deceit. Folly, therefore, is the act of making your soul uninhabitable for the truth. It is a perverse counsel, because it constantly tries to rewrite the rules of life to suit its own desires. Now, let's look at the specific behavior of the fool in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 2. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. This is the classic diagnostic test for folly. A wise person listens to understand. A fool waits to speak. For the fool, information is not a tool for growth, but a weapon for validation. They aren't looking for the truth. They are looking for an audience. Finally, consider the danger of stubbornness in Sirach, chapter 3, verse 26. A stubborn heart will fare badly in the end, and whoever loves danger will perish in it. The identity of folly is rooted in this stubbornness. Ignorance is simply not knowing the path. Folly is seeing the sign that says, "Bridge out," and driving over the cliff anyway because you don't like being told what to do. Folly is a love of danger, born from an oversized ego. Section 3. Modern Scenarios. Wisdom in the Wild. How do we identify intentional folly in a world of information overload. Scenario A, the closed loop. Professional. Imagine a team member who consistently makes the same mistakes. When you offer constructive feedback, counsel, they don't ask questions or try to learn. Instead, they immediately offer excuses or blame the system. They spend more energy defending the mistake than they would have spent fixing it. The Wisdom Lab identifies this as folly. They take no pleasure in understanding. Because they prioritize their opinion of themselves as perfect, they remain stuck in a cycle of failure. Wisdom warns you not to get pulled into their drama. Sometimes the wisest move is to leave the presence of a fool to protect the integrity of the project. Scenario B, the selective reality of social media. We live in an age where we can choose our own facts. Imagine someone who ignores scientific, financial, or moral realities, because those realities are inconvenient. They follow only the voices that echo their own desires. This is the perverse counsel mentioned in the Book of Wisdom. It is the spiritual rejection of truth. While simple ignorance can be cured with a book or a conversation, intentional folly is a heart condition. It is the choice to live in a deceitful soul, because the truth requires a disciplined spirit that they aren't willing to cultivate. Section 4. The Wisdom Paradox, the humble ignorant versus the intellectual fool. Now, let's explore the wisdom paradox. Why are some uneducated people wise, and some highly educated people fools? The paradox is that wisdom has nothing to do with your IQ or your degree. The balance point. Receptivity versus information. 1. The error of the arrogant scholar. This person has a PhD and has read 1,000 books, but they believe they have nothing left to learn from others or from the divine. They are slaves to their own sin of pride. Despite their data, they are fools because their soul is closed. 2. The error of the eternal victim. This person claims they didn't know any better to avoid responsibility. They use ignorance as a shield for their folly. They aren't really ignorant. They are just choosing not to see the consequences of their actions. The desirable path. We call this intellectual humility. You might not have all the answers, ignorance, but you have an open heart, wisdom. You are the student who admits when they are wrong. You realize that foolish thoughts are a choice, and you choose instead to be a disciplined spirit. You would rather be a humble person who knows little but listens well than a brilliant person who has become a fool because they can no longer hear the truth. Section 5. Language Masterclass, the Structure of Wisdom. Let's look at the English of folly and resistance. A. No pleasure in understanding. The phrase, take pleasure in, usually refers to hobbies or food. By using it for understanding, wisdom suggests that for the wise, learning is a joy. For the fool, it is a burden. Practice saying, I want to take pleasure in understanding, even when it's difficult. B. Enslaved to sin. The word enslaved, verb/adjective, implies a loss of freedom. Wisdom suggests that folly isn't free thinking. It's actually being a prisoner to your own bad habits and pride. Circa fare badly. This is a somewhat formal English idiom, meaning to experience a poor outcome. To fare badly in the end is a polite way of saying your life will fall apart if you don't change your direction. Section 6. Closing. Seal the word. As we finish our 14th session in the Wisdom Lab, I want you to check the door of your heart. Is it open to the truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable? Or have you been expressing your opinion more than you have been seeking understanding? Folly is not a permanent identity. It is a current choice. You can stop being a fool the moment you decide to be a student again. Don't be a stubborn heart that loves danger. Be a disciplined spirit that loves the light. Remember the words of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 7. Leave the presence of a fool. Sometimes that fool is the voice of pride inside our own heads. In chapter 15, we will explore the antidote to folly. We will look at the joy of learning and wisdom, and how to turn the act of education into a lifelong spiritual practice that keeps the heart young and the soul bright. If you are ready to trade foolish opinions for divine understanding, please like this video and subscribe to NovaLogos Audio English. Let's keep learning together. Until next time, be wise and walk in peace. Goodbye.